Okay, this is take two. Welcome to my Myst playthrough. I had to juggle through some audio settings, so hopefully, um, as well as some frame rate settings to make sure that it's doing okay. So hopefully it'll be fine. Coding overloaded. Consider turning on video settings. Okay, we'll just roll with it and see how this goes. Okay, I think we're doing alright. Yeah, yeah. Well, I have to. I mentioned one of my favorite games is Riven, but I have to lead in. I have to lead in with this game.
I realized the moment I fell into the fissure that the book would not be destroyed as I planned. I continued falling into that starry expanse of which I had only a fleeting glimpse. I've tried to speculate where it might have landed, but I must admit that such conjecture is futile. Still, the questions about whose hands might one day hold my Myst book are unsettling to me. I know my apprehensions might never be allayed, and so I close, realizing that perhaps the ending has not yet been written.
Now, I want to say that. Oh God. Um. Okay, so Rand Miller was the original dude that, out of the crew that uh, played Atris in the dialogue, and I want to say that they redid it. Just the inflections on certain words are slightly different from what I remember. So yeah, I don't know. Like the original Myst was like a little slideshow-like thing. Like they used like a very simple software to make it. It was just all pre-rendered stuff, and this puzzle game has just been remade time and time and time again in different formats. So, I mean, it's just no one can get it out of their heads. And for me especially, um, I'm a huge Myst nerd, really. Like I'll I'll quote how the dunny work, as well as how like the all the relationships work between Atris and his family and whatnot, and how linking books work as well as descriptive books work, and it's just all this other stuff. And I have read multiple times the Book of Atris, which is the novelization that leads up to the events of Myst. And it's actually a good read, and it's probably the only real read that you probably need to do. Um, the only other one that I would say is good is the Book of Tiana, um, but that's like it's that one's like very ancient in terms of like the chronology of Myst. So, but I would say for starters, like start with the Book of Atris because it's a short enough read. But anyway, it's one of the very first novels that I ever finished as a kid, and I loved it. Anyway, so we picked up this book. We're a stranger, and inside is an island with a ship on the right and a gear thingy in the distance, and stone columns on the top left. And we have no idea what this is, but by touching the panel, we get transported. I'm gonna do free roam. Okay. Okay. Now I'm gonna play it almost like, one would do their first time playing this game. So turned down the graphic settings a little bit, but that's fine. I mean, it's not too different. You know, I think still like it looks pretty decent-ish. Um, I did recently, or actually not recently, but I've like maybe a couple of years ago I played Oblivion. No, no, not Oblivion. It's called Abduction, and is that one still retains all the hallmarks of a Cyan production game with a bunch of random odd objects in an enclosed space. Um, I mean, it is pretty much exactly par for the course for these guys. I mean, you got a rocket ship, you got a library, you got will be what you find out is a planetarium, a ship, a giant tree in the center. Where is it? There it is. A clock, a power station, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And in Abduction, it is exactly the same kind of thing. and and if you look at other Cyan productions, they're all kind of like the same thing. Like prior to Myst, they did Spelunks and Manhole and Cosmic Osmo, and they all kind of have that vibe of just a bunch of random puzzles and stuff to explore in an enclosed space. And but I think Myst was like their first dive into like, okay, let's make like an actual canon and make a universe centering around it all. So one of the first things we do as the stranger here, we see this little note. It says, Catherine, I've left for you a message of utmost importance in our four-chamber beside the dock. Enter the number of marker switches on this island into the imagery to retrieve the message. Okay, so the four-chamber beside the dock, so that must be what this is. This is where we start. This is where I left off last time. When I was trying to record. Oh, a bunch of other weird crap happened. Okay, um, so here is the pool, or at least it looks like a pool. It's actually a projection chamber. As we can see here, it says Settings, Dimensional Imager. So we got Topographical Extrusion Test, Marker Switch Diagram, Water Turbulent Pool, which is probably what this is. So if we want to know what the marker switches look like, this is exactly what they would tell you to... This is how they would relay that information. So we go 47. I was like, this is what it looks like. Alright. And out of curiosity, okay, so the topographical extrusion test, I think... probably pertains to Myst Island, I think? That or the Rime Age, I don't know. Let's see here. I'm not sure what this is meant to be in particular. If it's meant to be Myst, I don't think it is. It's way too jagged for it to be Myst. The island itself. So... okay, so now we need to count the number of marker switches that are there. So... turning them on doesn't really affect this number. However, we can certainly flip them up. So that's one of them. There's two of them. There's three of them. And I like the fact that, like, as a kid, there was, like, a certain mystique behind, like, being restricted. to only like a few frames because remember the first game was made through like a bunch of like pre-rendered stuff. They had a they had a bunch of models in a computer, and then they would pre-render each shot and then string them together to form a little game. And then so you couldn't really go in between certain places because it 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 imposes to the designers that they need to make more shots so that you could go in between all this stuff. But yeah, going behind the planetarium is something that is not really uh, that wasn't really available to do back in the day. And so yeah, doing stuff like that actually does help the experience. Okay, so we got what was it 1, 2, 3. Here's 4. I would say that the only reason that this game like exists, or that this masterpiece edition exists today as it is only because Myst was as successful as it was in 1994. Or was it 92? Either way, it was a very early 90s game. We have 5, 6, 7, and the eighth one is across here, and we can't get to it yet. Unfortunately, our little stranger is incapable of going through water. So, and we don't know how to get across yet. So, yeah, I know. Maybe he has thalassophobia. I don't know. So we know that the number of market switches is 8. So, yeah, it's a very light game, very breezy game. And I say that because if say if this game was released under a different title and was released as it is, like this, all these 3D models and whatnot. Okay, like if Myst started this way instead of before, as like it did in 1994, it would not gain as much traction. It absolutely would not. Um, just simply because uh, it's substance-wise, it's actually very light. Like in terms of its puzzles, like it's very light, and it's an extremely short game. And I am gonna do a bit of padding out. I might split this up into maybe 2 videos here. Okay, so 8 marker switches. Now listen to the message here.
Catherine, my love, I have to leave quickly. Something terrible has happened. It's hard for me to believe. Most of my books have been destroyed. Catherine is one of our sons. I suspect Agamemnon, but I shouldn't leap to conclusions. I'll find him and Cirrus as well. Oh, I should have known better than to have left my library unchecked for so long.
No, this definitely was
I'll have removed the
re-recorded.
remaining undamaged books from the library and placed them in their places of protection. You shouldn't have to use the books until I return, but if you've forgotten the access keys, remember the tower rotation. Oh, and don't worry, Catherine. Everything will be fine. I'll see you shortly. Oh, and erase this message after you've viewed it, just to be safe.
Spoiler alert, there is no way to actually erase the message. Okay. I mean, the one goal that you probably think about, like when you're on here, is like, how do I get back? Like, maybe this guy who's here will lead me back, but I have to find him, and we don't know where he is. That's the catch, isn't it? So, so we enter the library, the crux of the entire the entire puzzle game. So you can see and probably estimate that all the marker switches, um, like put a marker onto this map here, because the eighth one that was at the clock tower is over here at this end of the island, but isn't turned on, and so therefore this path here is off. And we'll explore these brothers, um, in due time. We probably won't see every single message because it's pretty much the same thing over and over again, save for the last message that they give us. So yeah, just bring me more red pages, bring me more blue pages. But let's listen to what they have to say. Now this is largely now that now this video is the same as it was. Yeah. These were all QuickTime videos back in the day, and they've been, so the low quality of the video still kind of, strangely enough, enhances the effect. The static effect, I wonder, like, what that is meant to, like, imply physically, okay, yeah, I'll probably get around to playing, like, Revelations. Right, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna play the entirety of the Myst series for you guys, just because I adore it all, although I hate the fourth game. Scene-wise in 4, it's fine. Puzzle-wise in 4, it's terrible.
Monsieur? Are you? See you. You know,
So he's Akanar.
help me. I bring blue pages. Never, never.
Sorry, one moment. Okay. Alright. Sorry, I just wanted to move OBS around, so. There's been a slight issue with my webcam in that, um, uh, before startup, I have to make sure that it tracks my face. So there's a simple percussive fix that I have to employ, uh, involving a Q-tip against the lens to make sure that it tracks properly. So hopefully it remains that way throughout the rest of this. Looks like it is. It seemed to do the trick before I debuted. So, all right. So both these guys, yeah, on with our show. So both these guys are requesting more red and blue pages, and well, our only uh, place to go from here is to just take a look at all these other things. We can take a look at each of the things that are around on the island, of course, but the only real way to explore them in full is to get the access keys. And he said to remember the tower rotation. So, and this is it. Well, that was an industrial grinding noise overhead. One, two, three, four. All right, and we'll stop it here. A very basic one. So, and that, if we pay attention, that is obviously the gears, right? This is the dock here. This is the gears that we saw earlier. Okay. And if anything that the beginning of Myst has told us is that touching the picture does things. So, ooh, how intriguing. I mean, this was my first exposure as a kid to like how to shape and design a world. Really, like how crazy and abstract all the places looked. I mean, by today's standards, it's nothing. But, oops. But back then, it totally blew everybody away. Alright, so we're in the tower. So, you can imagine, so when you... Oh, is it nighttime? Or can I not view outside? That's odd. Okay, that might be a graphical bug. That's a little concerning. I can't look outside. Okay, yeah, that is... That is so bizarre. Okay. I'm not sure what that is. That could just be... Let me see here. Hopefully the... Yep, okay, good. 240, so like a time, 240, 221. That puzzle solution has been ingrained in my head forever. Oh, oh, it looks like it... Okay, maybe it loaded properly this time. What the fuck? Sorry. Okay, that's a little odd. Yeah, I don't know what is up with that. Let me see. Medium high. Okay, well, I'm actually gonna keep that on. That is very weird. Okay. Well, you're meant to be seeing, like, the outside. I'm not sure why it's not looking outside. Yeah, I'm not sure. But it's nothing too mission critical. You're meant to see the, like, you're meant to be looking out towards the books. Yeah. Like the location where the books are stored. Okay, so if we look at this channel wood, okay, so we want to like we want to remember that these ages or places are named after like their aesthetic. Okay, so if you look at like each of them, like okay, so we see Channelwood, Stone Ship Age, you can see it probably here, like the Selenitic Age of Myst here, which actually was not on the cover of that when the game first came out, and you could only know the name of that age through the soundtrack. Um, and down here we have a picture of a gear, and that must be referring to the age that we're looking at. Okay. Okay. So there's nothing too critical in these journals that you need to really read as far as the ages go. It's just an interesting little backstory. You know, today we these this would be in the form of like audio logs in you know in BioShock, or in the form of let's say the computer entries in Fallout games, like that kind of thing. Like this is what it would be. Um, so pretty much this was so long story short, Atris, right, this guy that we've encountered. Um, so this this the synopsis of all of this that he's doing here. So essentially, the people that he found in this age were constantly being assaulted these um, by these pirate ships, and he endeavored to design this rotating fortress that uh, that rotated on a track here, um, and he programmed a little simulator for the islanders to use to practice rotating the whole thing. Yeah. So insignia of the black ship. Okay. Yeah. Last night we had a small celebration, and the old survivors danced their dances of old. My sons did not understand why the sky had not turned back to its original blue. The old man told them that the storms would never end until the enemy was destroyed. Assured my sons that a blue sky was not worth the risk of death, and they seemed to hear me. I have had a healthy adventure and begun work on a new book. Once again, I must leave a familiar age of a new universe I have begun. But first, I will have an extended time with Catherine, whom I miss very much. I must return to the people of the tide, who am I thinking are probably part of another age. So, I believe in my trials I have found the substance that will ease the pain of their bone ailments oops, that they have long endured. I hope to return to mechanical age one day and find the population growing and my fortress still strong. Though the sky may always be black, I am confident the people here feel a heavier darkness that has been lifted from their shoulders. Interesting. Yeah, I don't remember. I can't remember if he God, because once we get into Riven, we'll get into like the whole business of like writing worlds, or as they call them, ages, which I always thought was really interesting. Um, the Age of Myst, Mechanical Age, Selenitic Age, Channelwood, Stoneship Age. You know, it is an interesting word choice. I will say, to this day, it is a like uh, because you like to think that. Okay, yeah, I turned up the settings, and I think like we're doing okay here. Oh wait, hold on. My chroma. I just noticed. Is my chroma key being weird? Hold on. Pardon me for a second. Let's see. Whoop. I think. Yeah, that was the. Yeah, just do it. Oops. Ah. There we go. Okay. Seem to have done the trick. Yeah, I just noticed. Yeah. I just noticed that. Okay. So 240. And it refers to a time, and the only thing that has, I mean, they they use a lot of like similar patterns and aesthetics to clue you in as to what pertains to what. So because the clock tower is sitting on top of a gear, this must obviously pertain to the gear thing, the mechanical age that we're going to. So okay, so this is the minute hand to two. Okay, so that's 40. So the 221 bit is this thing. So this stumped a lot of early players, as well as myself. But because the key is obviously timing the whole mechanism. So one lever pulls it down, pulls the bottom two down, and the other one pulls the top two, or they rotate them. Sorry, I should say that. And then there's a counterweight over here on the left hand side. Now there's no way to actually, you know, um, uh, so it's in the three position, and it would obviously be very easy to do if it was by default in 111 to begin with, but we're not. We're in three, and we need it to be the combination 221. So the trick that stumped most players is to hold the lever down. So okay, so this one was the bottom, right? Okay. Oh shoot. Oh, I screwed up. Embarrassing. Bingo. All right. I'll probably record like 1 hour sessions at a time. Um, I don't know if I will do uh, multiple hour sessions. Um, but anyway, I have my maid duties tomorrow that I have to tend to. Early start in the morning, that kind of thing. A nice pan over. It loops, unlike the first one that we see. And I believe that was the same case for the original game too. Okay, but I got my tritium tea with me. Yeah. Remember, he was saying that he was wishing for it to be, no more black skies, because that would mean that the pirating has stopped. So it's kind of a little bit of a mixed sky. It's partly cloudy. Yeah. Have the pirates really gone? One of the eerie things that I always found, or one of the things that I always found that was eerie about Age of the Ages as a kid was that there's no people to be found in any of the ages or worlds that you explore, save for the very last. Yeah, it's extremely sparse. And sometimes the lore goes into it, sometimes it does not, and it's up to you to interpret if things actually perished or if they just dwindled to oblivion. And here it looks like Well, the fortress still stands, like Atreus wished, but the skies appear kind of gray, so maybe the pirates are still there out there. The black ships. That telescope. This is one boat out of two, and it's very, very decadent. Very decadent. Who could this be? Lots of toys to play with. A little wind-up toy. A little kinetic toy. A 6x6 chessboard. Don't know how you would play that. Yeah. Alright. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Ah. So you can tell that this brother, right? Because it's associated with the red page. We see lots of wealth, plundered gold, and wine too. What does this note say? Cirrus, your greed sickens me. Your desire for wealth and plunder is never satisfied. I will instruct my subjects not to pay your new tax, and you know they'll listen to me. Regards, Akinar. So, a brotherly dispute. Remember, Cirrus is the person with the red pages. Akinar is the one with the blue pages. So yeah, very greedy. So earlier we did see a little combination lock. But we don't know the combination. So we'll need to figure out how that works. And here's the opposite brother. And here's his secret chamber. With lots of poisons, toxins. And a severed head. Very grim. And a butchering block. An electric cage. Oh my. Yeah. Yeah, the brothers were very opposite in style, and we'll see more of their stuff in more of the ages, but yeah, one of them is like a, very barbaric, torture, medieval, you know. The other one is, into opulence, decadence, that kind of thing. Only one thing in this room stands out, and that's this thing. That's why we went in here, Fortress Rotation Simulator. Now this is how you would learn the audio clues for the cardinal directions, as we'll see, so... Okay, so that clunk... So you can see that it's pointed southward. Okay. Doink. Now that meter is supposed to imply that you're locked on. So... So a slosh sound is east. A ding sound is north. And a chirp is west. So we'll have to find out exactly which direction we're facing, because obviously this could be very easily be facing north, you know, but we don't know. But we don't know the reference point. We could infer that based on the little simulator that, you know, the fortress by default, because it's facing the entrance to the age, and it's facing southward. The Mechanical Age tracks were some of my favorite pieces of ambience. They like the metal sounds in the pipes, and it's just so good. Yeah. It's too bad that the tracks, they're only like 50 seconds long. They're no more than a minute. Yeah. If you listen to the soundtrack, they're very short. Okay, so now we can enter this thing. Yeah. Okay. If you go out the elevator, you'll notice that there is a control console, not unlike, I think maybe it's too dark. I don't know. I might have to turn up the gamma on this, but yeah, there's a control station up, like, on top of the elevator. So try that function. Okay, so this was the brake release, and this was to rotate. Okay, so the clunk implies that we're facing south, and so just knowing our cardinal directions and knowing that there's like other little island things to go to, we know that there's, one island I think on the east and one island in the west. So, and we know that it rotates. I think it rotates counterclockwise. Okay. And it does come down to timing, so. Yeah, that was east. So, pardon me for a second while I get my notebook. Okay. Because we're going to have to write some stuff down. Yep. Sorry, you can hear these pages flipping here. Okay. Alright. Is that one? Okay. No. I'm just trying to find a space in my notebook for all this stuff. Okay. It's not a whole lot that you need to write down for this game, but it helps. Hey, another island. Yep. So south. Okay, now we're on the eastern island, and I think. Oh, there was one in the north. I remembered not. I didn't remember correctly. Okay. And the only thing of note on these islands is this. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, isn't it? What a lonely landscape it really is. Like that's all this game is. It was like it was revolutionary, but it did have like a uh like it did have like it was a feeling that I didn't have a word for until my adulthood, and it feels very liminal. Like it's just like it's vacant, you know? No one's here anymore. And that's what's so spooky about it. Let's see. I do want to try and do uh, this and maybe Stone Ship. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, and that implies that it's north, so that's good. And I'll say this, because I've watched. I mentioned Limes earlier in my debut, and I did watch her play this edition of Myst, and what's crazy fun about all of that is just like how how basic all the puzzles are, and yet it's still quite difficult for new players. Like it is just like, I'm playing this now, having played it, thousands of times, you know, but and so it's like this is all going very quickly, but watching, the people go through the process of solving the puzzles from a brand new perspective, and how do they like how is it meant to be solved? Because as veterans of games that we play, we often forget sometimes we often forget like the lessons that we've learned for um, you know that as beginners, we've advanced so much uh, into veteranship. So I think if we actually a little bit of an Easter egg here, not really an Easter egg, but okay, maybe it's not this one. I don't know if I okay, maybe it's not facing the right way, but okay. If you face it in the right direction, you will see through the telescope a hanging skeleton on a gallows aboard a ship, and that's probably the remains of, you know, um, one of the attackers. So, but you can probably estimate that the conflict between the black ships and the inhabitants here is over. It's all gone. So if we've heard a chirp, that means we're facing west, which is not what we want to end on. We want to end on the south position. Okay, so that's west. Okay, that's it. again, all these puzzles are relatively simple in structure, you know, but the process of finding what do I click on, what is a red herring and what isn't, that takes time, um, you know, that you spend in your novicehood playing a game. Okay. And that's it. That's all there is to explore in this particular world. That's how small it is. Now, you also have to remember, it's the fact that it's small, um, is uh, comes from the fact that they did have to fit, you know, several pre-rendered pictures worth of stuff to define several worlds and stuff that onto a CD. They did this game was not on a DVD when it first came out. It was on a CD, and it was only like maybe I want to say uh maybe a few, maybe just like a handful of megabytes, not maybe not even that. Like the computers back then just did not have enough space to hold on to a whole lot of stuff. StarCraft, which I might play the remastered version later here. Um, uh, but the original version was like maybe a few hundred megabytes. Yeah, old games are much smaller than you might remember them being. Okay, so we got this red page, and actually, one other note. Yeah, we can see the map is complete here. So we'll flip that switch.
Return.
Yep, and I'm gone. There's not These guys don't really say much of import, um, so we're just gonna go head on back, get that blue page, then come back here, and it's nighttime. Isn't that lovely? And for this, we don't even need to get the combination anymore. And furthermore, the combination is never randomized. And it's even saved, so we don't even need to do that. So we can just run in and get the blue page, and then go back. I think one thing that I just game design here. I think people might have. I want to say that many new players might have looked at this and be like, "Huh, that's weird." Like, there's a yellow bar there in the middle of this, industrial metal. Like, what is that about? And they click on it. Oh my goodness, there's a secret passageway, and there be one for the other one? So there you go. You know, it's Cyan does that. They were very keen on their beta testing with, when we get to Riven, uh, you'll see what I mean. Like when they beta test stuff, they look for what players are clicking on and what they think they can't click on. Yeah, puzzle game designers are very, very keen. Yeah, they pay attention to a lot of ins and outs and possible shortcuts. It's the same thing with the Portal games too. The If you listen to their audio logs, um, you'll you'll see and hear that they um, uh, they go through a lot. They go through a lot of processing and review to make sure that you know that the puzzle is performs with adequate time for engagement, to the player. Okay, so now we're going into the ship age, which you could probably guess out of the journal titles. See, now it's working. What was up with that earlier? See, now we can look outside. I don't know why we were not able to see that earlier. That's definitely a game bug. Okay, and the key. This is a long one. I do not have this one memorized. Okay, so October 11th, 1984. Okay. Quickly. January. '17th, 1207. Oops. That's why I write this stuff in pencil. I wrote it wrong. I've heard people. Some people have told me that I write my numbers weird, which is like I shake my finger at them. Because we could you can't see it, but I slash my zeros and sevens. So I tell people it's to differentiate between a zero and an O. All right. Provides structure, provides order, because I deal with numbers all the time and writing them in lab notebooks. So, anyway. Alright. Oh, yeah. We haven't explored this thing yet. We won't be able to know exactly what to do with this yet. Until the very end. Yeah. And we won't know how to find the solution to it until the very end. Not until we, I won't reveal it, but the only clue that we're backing up on right now as a new player, so to speak, is to keep, providing the brothers red and blue pages. The only thing I'm going to spoil right now is that they don't really say anything of note until the very last page that you provide either one of them. Okay. Because all they'll say is provide me more red or blue pages. So let's just keep going and keep doing that. So you do have to explore a little bit to figure out where to input these numbers. So just to showcase some of this, you know, we need to find a place where we can enter a date. Okay, well these look like voltmeters, so this does not look like what we need to look at. This is for something else. So this is not the place we need to go to. This log cabin. Okay. No place to input, a date here. We do see a combination lock for a safe, but nothing that would imply that we can enter a date, All right. So what about the rocket ship here? What does it have inside it? Can't get in. And we can probably tell just by association that it's connected to the power generator that we can't really open it. Okay. So the only place left is this thing. Does look like a dental office, doesn't it? Let me turn off the light. Can we not see that? The stars there? Hold on, I'm gonna go into the settings here. Oh, there's a flashlight. I didn't know that we could have that. Anyway, and settings. Sun shafts high, bloom high. Vertical sync, extra details, focus effect, motion blur. I bumped my mic there. Sorry about that. Resolution. Man. I'm not sure what to do about that. I can't... There's no... Like, if there was a setting for it, I would definitely, like, you know, turn up the gamma on it, but... Okay. Well... Okay, now we can see it. Okay. Oh, and the stars are, like... Oh, I never noticed that before. In this version, at least, because the stars are in a three-dimensional plane. In the original, I think they were just, like, on a flat dome, like most planetariums. Okay, here we go. Alright, so... This looks like something that we can enter a date into. Alright, so... What is this? What will this lead into? Yeah. I'm willing to do an hour and a half for this game. Let's see, October 11th. This is the year. We can easily drag it and then do a fine adjustment. Oh, was it 1984? 1984. Like the book 1984. 10:04. Whoops. Okay. Oh. It's a constellation of some kind. Okay. We'll write that in our little notebook. So, and the next date was January 17th. 12:07. Now I'm gonna do something interesting, and that is to not input the time just yet. Let's see. I just want to see what happens. Oh, weird. What if it was off by 1 minute? Huh. Well, you see the bottom half of the previous constellation, so I wonder why. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it's programmed, honestly. So we see another image. Okay. Okay, so the next one apparently is in the far future. November 23rd. '91. Okay. "6:57 p.m. Huh, okay. These are all very familiar to me, I gotta say. You know, all these familiar shapes. Very nice music. The if you watch a making of this game, you'll know that the the Miller brothers were very worried that the that music would kind of distract the player, and they cited Super Mario World, which is kind of hilarious considering that they that 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 music in particular was also designed to be not very invasive. So, but that's a whole nother story. But I think the music turned out very well. I think it's one of the best aspects of both Myst and Riven. Okay, so this is Stone Ship, which we can estimate is, because it's pointed towards the ship. So the age with the ship in the name, in the title. Look, it's very simple logic here, okay? you know, okay, Emmett was the first to live on the rocks. He named them the rocks because that is what they were. A group of sharp rocks clustered together in the middle of a large sea. This is where Emmett lived. He enjoyed his life. Emmett would occasionally swim to nearby rocks, and it was never too far of a distance. Okay. I still do not fully understand what happened today. I was experimenting with the art, testing the limits of the rules as dictated to me by father. I attempted to create a boat by writing it into the world. I thought everything was planned correctly, yet somehow the boat had become gripped by the rock and broken in half. Although this test did not turn out as I had hoped, I now have answers to a few of the questions my father never answered. Interesting. So, this is one of the clues as to the nature of these worlds and how they exist. You know, these books are somehow described, and that's how it. That's how the world exists. Or actually, I should say how it's. Okay, so it's not necessarily that's how it exists, but because the Myst canon is that you describe the world, and that's what, and you can sort of like an address, like you're describing an address, and then that's where you're going, is sort of how it's essentially doing, but in a more elaborate manner. You're describing a world that it's this, it has this and it has this in it and it has this in it and it has this in it, and then based off of that, this is the world that you're going to. So you're not really creating it. So it kind of goes off of this idea of multiverse theory in a way, if where like you're going into a world that fits these parameters is how it works. So, let's see. The nights are absolutely beautiful here. I have made note of and named a number of constellations that pass above me. I also noted I catch glimmers of light from the horizon which I have not been able to discover. I have not I have not been able to discover it is created by some natural phenomenon or by additional people from far off islands or rocks. Oh, yeah, no, my model is stuttering. I think it's also like trying to work in conjunction with this game. It's not the most optimized of games, I will say. Okay, this line is slightly heavier than usual. Okay. Yeah. For some time, and let the world's own imagination have control. You can tell that by the nature that he's writing, he's he's describing these worlds and he's venturing into them because he's curious about what he's doing. The process of control. So we can estimate that he's trying to figure out how to write a proper world together. You know, and then going in and then helping the inhabitants. It was Will who first saw the girl. She was sitting not far. Okay. I feel pleased to leave this age. I have set in motion events that have nothing to do with writing or the arts that will have a more profound impact on this world than I could have ever written. I think of it as this. Oh, there's a little overhead. Very nice. You can see that the boat has been split in half. I think of it as an age, as a gift to myself that I will wrap up and open someday in the future, only to discover that it has changed so much that indeed it is a surprise. Besides, I have yet another new age that awaits me. It seems I'm going to need some way to travel underwater in this new age, and so much planning is in order. It's been 10 years since I left this age, which I have since called the Stoneship Age. Upon returning, I cannot believe the changes that have taken place. The original three boys have grown into adults, and there are many new phases that I do not recognize. Okay. They are all very content and have been serving. Okay, so they're all very content and been serving me with new foods and showing me the new materials they have discovered. It seems they have found gold somewhere. I see it in many forms around the island. My lighthouse has been kept in perfect condition, and it looks as if they have tried their very best to keep it so. Yet I have noted that the entire rock it was built on has sunk approximately 40 or 50 centimeters. After a wonderful visit with my old friends, I wonder aloud with them what things will be like here in another 10 years. Sorry, one moment. So here we see the constellations, the of note. So you see that one of the constellations is a snake. Okay, another one corresponds to a beetle. Another one to a leaf. And those are easy enough to remember. So where on the island have we found or seen those kinds of images? Well, over here, yeah. So the images of the constellations. So first was the leaf. Beetle. And the snake. Yeah. It doesn't matter which order you put them in, just so long as all three are up. So, and the boat has risen. And we never really see the mechanism that raises the boat either. It just rises up. Yeah. And the only thing of note in the entire thing is a single room with a chair and a book. Very lonely. And once again, it's all a very kind of lonely experience. But all in all, it's kind of magical in a way. And I adore that. Oh wow. It's raining here. And in the original game, it wasn't like um there was no rain. Yeah, because it was all pre-rendered. And to put rain into a pre-rendered scene was just or pre-rendered, image was sort of impossible unless you overlaid it somehow with a QuickTime video, which would have taken much more memory than needed. So here's the lighthouse that he said, but again, no inhabitants. So we see a lock, no key. This age has a bit more of an intricate puzzle to it than the previous one. I'm gonna stop this video at an hour and a half. It's now an hour and 15 into the video, but okay. What about this guy here? Sounds like a pump. So it probably leads down there, but doesn't look like we can really do anything in here. It looks like we can click on something, but it's not really doing anything. Hold on, I'm gonna have to walk in the dark here. Okay. I don't think I've ever really tried to do that. Okay, so the left-hand button, yeah, is out of the question. Okay, so it looks like it opens this. Oh. A very decadent room. And based off of our knowledge of leitmotifs, we can tell that this is one of the brothers' rooms, and specifically Cirrus. Yeah. This basic melody, is featured throughout all of his rooms. And of course, opulence, decadence, fine dining, you know? And we recognize this symbol here. This is the symbol of the black ship, so he must have gotten this by plundering or striking a deal with the black ship, so who knows? So we got a red page. There's still this desk over here. Again, poisons, needle. Yeah, painkillers probably. Yeah, who knows? Alright. Very nice bed. I assume that the other half... Hold on, I'll show you. Yeah, the other one leads probably to the other brother's room. But we need to figure out a way to lower the water in the lighthouse, so hopefully it's this one. Oh, look at that. Sweet. Okay. So it looks like there's a chest here at the bottom. We open it up, and it's got some water in it, so let all the water out. And we'll close it. so it doesn't fill back up. Oh, hold on. I'll keep it in the middle one here. So if the one on the lighthouse fills back up, and it should raise the dude. It's got this key on a chain here. And there's that key, which opens up this guy. Ta-da! Okay. There we go. Looks like a battery pack. And okay, looks like that's full. Okay. So we can see that the lighthouse is shining. Okay. So up here, I love the telescope theme. And rotate it. Oops. And it's at 135 degrees. Now, we need to know, where might that be on cardinal directions, God, I love the music. It's so good. And they would perfect this music in Riven. I swear on my fusion reactor that the soundtrack to Riven is just one of the best soundtracks of all time in my. It's so good. Okay, so we got 135. Now we need to explore a little bit to figure out what that could possibly pertain to. So we see that the lights are on down there, so let's see. I don't know if I've ever tried this as a kid, but let me see here. Okay, so the lights are not on here. So the generator pertains to just the hallways, not this underground section in the ship. So I need to figure out a way to turn on lights in there. So far, the locations that we've seen that have not really had a function to turn that on. So, but we have to watch sides carefully. You might notice something on one of the sides. Here it is. So, if memory serves me correctly... So, if we take north to be 0 degrees, 135, right? If you know your math right, that's 90 plus another 45 degrees, so that's this. Boom! And I believe that access only happens if you turn the lights on down here. And the batteries are on a timer, so that's the puzzle essentially. If you play it for the first time, um, so yeah. Okay, so we got that. I believe, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I kind of like, honestly, now that I've grown, a little older, you know, I I like rainy environments much more, and I kind of like this age. I want to say I like it a whole lot more than Mechanical Age. And yes, now we notice that the ship is lit up. Bit of a magical place, don't you think? All this like glass on the sides, underwater lighting. Oh, that reminds me of one of the games I do want to play. Um, is the Secret of the Obra Dinn. I really like that game. And now a Myst book magically appears. So you might be wondering, if you were a new player, like, is there a book that takes me back to the place that I came from? Maybe. But the specifics of that is kind of unknown to the player at the moment. Alright, I'm gonna get the red page into here. And then we'll go back into Stoneship and get the blue page, and then we'll be on our... And then I think that'll be good for stream number 1 of Myst. Yeah, it's just been, like... I like doing it pre-recorded. I think it's much easier on my hardware to do it this way. Um, okay, so we don't need to go through the shenanigans of powering up anything anymore, I think. We just need to repump everything. So I'll go to the other side and explore the other brother's chamber, and I think there is an additional clue or piece of information that we'll find in his chamber. Alright. Alrighty. So there's the blue page. Again, very grim looking. Ugh. Much of a rose. Ooh. Very spooky. Maps. Maps pertaining to where? We don't know. None of these locations are on Earth. But we know for a fact that Atris wrote a bunch of ages. So I'm going to take a piece of that. Let's take a screenshot there. It's much too hard. It's much too laborious to really just write all this down. So we can see the first half of a torn page. Where the other half of the torn page is, we don't know. So we can tell that there's some kind of secret marker switch location. So... So yeah, he did write more than one age. Yeah, and we know from the message in the chamber on the dock that um, that most of his books have been destroyed. So So all those maps are probably from worlds that we'll never be able to explore, and were all written by Atris at some point, probably. And just to satisfy anybody's curiosity here, I am gonna like let people listen to the message that they're saying. They're not gonna say anything of import, I think. So
You're back. Good.
I'm like, oh yes, you're back.
More blue pages you find.
Yeah, more blue pages.
Bring more. I must have some more.
You notice that his image is becoming slightly clearer.
Last of you. Long. It's been so long since my brother, Cirrus, wrongfully imprisoned me within this book. Stupid schemes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've seen these brothers, but we have not yet, like, not yet seen the father yet. And where's Catherine in all this? And Catherine is somebody that we'll not be able to see for quite some time, in fact. So, but, but that is it for today. I thank you all for this wonderful first game to play. Oh my goodness. Oh no. I'm appearing double. Ah. There we go. But yeah, thank you all for joining me on this. So, um, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much.